thanks for joining us. Today on Good Morning Pakistan, we will be discussing the topic of guilt in today's world.
Before we dive into that topic, we have an interesting news story to share. Excuse me, Ellie, could you please pass the water?
Of course, Sarah. For you 1,000 times over.
Thank you. Toward breaking news. Today in San Francisco, California, a young boy was playing in the park when he got his kite stuck in a tree. May I remind you, he was only 8 years old, and while he tried to climb the tree, bystanders simply walked by.
So did he get his kite down?
No, when he was switching branches, he lost his footing and fell. He ended up breaking both of his legs and arms.
Oh my god, that is terrible. I would probably just kill myself. Okay, but seriously, I would have felt so guilty not preventing something like that. I mean, it's such a simple little thing that you could do to prevent such a tragedy.
I completely agree, John Joy. You know, Sarah, that reminds me of the book we just finished reading in book club last week.
Oh yes, 50 Shades of Grey. One of the greatest literary works I've ever read.
No, The Kite Runner. It's one of my favorites by Kite.
Who's that? And what's the Kite Runner? I've never heard of it. Would you ladies like to fill me in about it?
Oh my gosh, would we?
Kite Runner tells a story of romance, guilt, irony, and self-retribution. There are two boys from Afghanistan, one named Amir and another named Hassan. Amir and his father are from the upper-class Pashtuns, and Hassan is the son of Amir's family servant, and he is a Hazara. As children, they were best friends up until Amir witnesses Hassan's rape by their childhood bully, Asaf.
What? How old was Asaf?
Oh, a nice prepubescent age.
Now, Benny, I understand that's such a problem these days, kids acting out in morally incorrect ways at such young ages.
Y'all need Jesus.
Okay, wait, but back to the book.
Right. So the two kids grow up, during which time the war pushes Amir and Baba to move to America, and Hassan to live alone in Amir and Baba's old house. Both of them establish their own families. Amir graduates college and becomes a writer, living happily with his wife and father. Unfortunately, Baba soon passes away from cancer, and Amir and Soraya find out they cannot have a baby. On top of all that, Amir is constantly reminded of his guilt with Hassan, and is chilled to the bone at any mention of the name Hassan.
Wow, Amir must have been really hurt by Hassan's rape.
I feel like Hassan was hurt a little bit more.
Actually, Sarah, that's highly debatable.
See, Amir is an extremely complex character. From the get-go, he has had this conflict with obtaining his father's love. His mother was lost in childbirth, something Amir believes his father blames him for. He also shares no interest with his father, choosing writing and storytelling over soccer.
Wait, what's kite running?
It's kind of like hang gliding. You tape a giant kite to your back and then run really fast enough that you can get some air.
Kite running is when a kite is cut from the sky, and once it lands on the ground, someone goes and runs after it.
Not as exciting.
That task, though, Hassan was pretty good at. Also, kite running symbolized one's loyalty to another, so like Hassan's loyalty to Amir.
In fact, Hassan in himself is the personification of loyalty. No matter what trouble Amir gets them into, Hassan never ratted Amir out, and he was always there to stand up for Amir to bullies like Asaf. Even in the end, when Amir tried to kick Hassan out, Hassan chose to leave on his own rather than oppress Amir with his presence, seeing that their friendship was over and continued interaction was only painful for them both.
Yeah, Hassan's kind of my ideal man. Except for that hair lip.
Oh yeah, that hair lip is actually a really important part of the book, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, so I think I see how guilt is really important to the book, because it's a character-forming aspect of Amir, and he's the main character. But what exactly is Hosseini trying to say about guilt as a whole?
Theme!
You don't have any fun.
Yes, the themes are all centered around the major motif of guilt. The very first one that's thrown through Amir as he grows is that guilt does not diminish over time.
Yeah, I think that's really evident, especially since Amir is still scared by the thought of his son, even when he's in America and Amir's all, and Hassan's all the way back in the Middle East.
But there's another theme about how guilt starts. Dishonesty.
Ah, yes, dishonesty.
Throughout the novel, Amir's character, who robbed Hassan of the truth after Baba clearly stated that there is one sin, only one, and that is theft. Every other sin is a variation of theft, conveys the overriding theme of guilt stemming from dishonesty.
Wow, Amir has a lot of issues.
Yeah, but he's not the only one.
Right, he isn't. Soraya and Baba both portray dishonesty in more of a subplot of the novel.
Oh, let's start with Soraya. I admire her taste in men.
Are you talking about Amir?
No, the guy she ran off with, her lover.
Ooh, scandalous. Sounds like my kind of girl.
Ow, ow!
All right.
Soraya's dishonesty caused her to feel so guilty that before she agreed to marry Amir, she needed to take a walk and tell him everything. After revealing her past to Amir, Soraya was able to begin their relationship with a clean slate. The audience can see that Soraya's guilt developed solely from her dishonesty about her past and not being as pure as a young woman was expected to be.
Well, at least she told the truth, unlike someone.
Sarah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Baba, duh.
You're right.
Back when we were talking about Baba including Hassan in everything like a son, well, that's because Hassan is actually Baba's son. Baba slept with Ali's wife, and in order to relieve his guilt, bought Hassan toys and donated a lot of money to orphanages, all to put an end to his burdening guilt that had increased continually over time.
Okay, so it's kind of like karma. Basically, if you do a lot of bad stuff, you just gotta do a lot of good stuff to make up for it, right?
I mean, that's one way to do it.
Actually, Soraya demonstrated the only way humans can atone for their sin. She admitted her past mistakes while Baba took his secret to the grave. If it wasn't for Rahim Khan, no one would have ever known Baba's secret, and Amir would have never been able to begin his journey.
Wow, Sarah, where did that come from?
Laura Ryan.
Shut up. Interesting. So all parts of the plot, from the main plot to the subplots, focus on the central theme of guilt.
Exactly, Benjamin.
In two of the more minor characters, as well as Amir, Husseini weaves his message of guilt stemming from dishonesty, and then that same guilt burdening people over time until they rid themselves of that guilt by atoning the original sin.
Wow, Hosseini sounds like a pretty creative guy.
Totally, but back to my main man now.
Yes, back to Amir. See, Amir still has his guilt from not sticking up for Hassan, but thanks to Rahim Khan's revealing of Baba's secret, there is a way to be good again.
Preach it, sister! You know what else? Nothing was free in this world, which is why Amir had to go back to suffer to atone for his sins.
What? So what happened?
When Amir returned to Kabul looking for Hassan's son, Sorib, Amir ran into an old familiar, yet not so friendly, or maybe a little too friendly, bully. Amir came back to save Sorib from the dump Kabul had become and ultimately atone his original sin he made against his childhood friend and recently revealed stepbrother.
What a great friend.
So how did he suffer exactly?
Well, this is where Sarah's observation about how nothing was free comes into play.
After finding Sorib, Amir had a slight physical altercation with that old-time bully who still acts like a bully, named Asef. After getting hit, Amir's lip splits in half, leaving him with a hair lip that matches the deceased Hassan. The hair lip is another major symbol of the novel. In the beginning, Hassan's hair lip portrayed his imperfection and categorized him as a lesser.
Thank you, Ellie. Well, folks, it looks like we're going to have to take a little break for a quick word from our sponsors. Don't touch that remote. Good Morning Pakistan. We'll be right back.
Boom! 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 It's the new Slingshot 500! It shoots farther! And flies faster!
It all can be yours for 5 easy payments of $19.99. And for just 2 more payments of $19.99, we'll throw in 2 ping pong balls. child's toy an important part of the story?
Why, yes, they were, Sarah. I can't believe we almost forgot that.
We see a slingshot several times throughout the novel. In the first instance, Hassan had the slingshot when Asef was bullying him, and Amir. The slingshot is important because it causes fear among those who are being threatened by its presence, and ultimately saved Hassan and Amir from any altercations that day.
The slingshot wasn't just a simple toy that day. It was a weapon that repressed evil and enforced good.
And coming back to where we just left off, the second instance is when Sorab takes out Asef's eye with the slingshot when Amir finally has his physical altercation with Asef. The slingshot represents the complete loyalty and bravery of those who use it. Also, it represents the victory of an underdog, an allusion to David and Goliath from the Bible.
Wow, so does Amir rescue Sorab and then, happily ever after?
Oh, no, not at all. The suffering only continues. Do you actually think someone could be happy after such a traumatic event like that?
She is right. Amir does rescue Sorab and seems to be able to atone for his past sin and guilt, yet he struggles on so many different levels with Sorab.
He battles to adopt Sorab because officials claim he cannot prove Sorab's parents are actually dead. Amir tells Sorab he may have to go back to an orphanage. However, Amir and Soraya discover a way to get him back to the U.S., but not before Sorab attempts to kill himself. Although he lived, it is like he died as he became extremely withdrawn and even stopped speaking.
Jeez, it seems like these people can't catch a break.
Well, we do get that glimmer of hope at the end, right, Ellie?
Yeah, Sarah, we do.
When Amir and Sorab are back in America, Amir has already redeemed himself by that point, so the kite no longer serves as a reminder of his guilt. Instead, as it symbolized Hassan's loyalty to Amir, it now symbolizes Amir's loyalty to Sorab. To complete the triangle, as the kite allowed Amir to connect with Baba, it also becomes the way that Amir is finally able to connect with Sorab. In fact, Sorab actually smiles. This gives us hope that things will start to look up for the family.
Wow, who would have thought such a simple smile could be such a powerful symbol? One of my absolute favorite parts of the novel.
I actually kind of would have been really disturbed if you said any of the previous parts were your favorite parts of the novel.
Do you want to know what my favorite part is? When Amir and Sorab are flying kites, and Amir cuts the kite, and then Amir runs after it for Sorab, just like Hassan used to do for him. It just shows how loyal of a person Amir has become.
It's just so touching. So touching.
It was. It's so great how Amir was finally able to atone for his past sin and guilt.
It sure was, Sarah. Do you think the people in the park right now are feeling guilty for, not helping out the kid?
Well, I would certainly think so, and I'm sure it will affect them long term. I think the kite runner really demonstrates how the only way to rid oneself of guilt is to gain redemption.
Well, I sure hope those people are able to find redemption somehow. The effects of guilt seem even worse than that food poisoning I got from those sandwiches that Carl made last week.
Sorry.
Yeah, guilt is a nasty thing, and it doesn't just go away on its own. It only intensifies until redemption is found.
You hear that, audience? Guilt will always affect you. It'll be that thing sitting in the back of your head just eating away at you, like Sarah ate away at Carl's sandwich. And so there's only one way that you can really fix that, and you just gotta go out there and face your past, face your guilt. I mean, it may hurt a lot and be very difficult for you to confront it, but in the end, is it really, more painful than sitting around and living with the guilt that you're suffering through right now? Just think about that.
Right you are, Benny. Right you are. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I have to head off to my mani-pedi appointment. Thank you for watching. Tune in tomorrow, you beautiful people.